Perfect. So we've got recording going. So today we're in G-Shift University. We're going to discuss content marketing, and this is session 1 of 2. Now, either through shouting out or through the chat window, how would you rate your existing knowledge of content marketing on a scale of 1 to 10? Six, perfect. Anybody else? 7, 4, fantastic. We've got a great assortment of skills here, which is great. 5, perfect. Good. So the objectives of the content marketing module, the session 1 we're going to go through, are to discuss the fundamentals of content marketing, defining who your content is targeting, so just persona development, and planning your content, which is through the buyer's journey, and developing a content planning matrix. So to start off with, we're going to get into the fundamentals of content marketing. At a high level, content marketing is how a brand creates, delivers, and governs original or curated content to attract and retain customers, positioning the brand as a credible expert and ultimately motivating a change in behavior. This quote was by Joe Paluzzi, who is the founder of the Content Marketing Institute. So it's a very credible quote and explains content marketing very well at a high level. G-Shift has a slightly different perspective of content marketing, and we've developed this and kind of defined it through our hierarchy of web presence optimization. Within this hierarchy of web presence optimization I'm going to show you, you'll see the activities and amount of efforts required to impact your web presence. So this is what we've developed. So you'll see at the bottom of the hierarchy, we've got keyword research, content research, and competitive research. And that accounts for about 20% of the efforts that you put into your web presence and your marketing efforts digitally. Now, we've discussed the keyword research and the competitive research already, which is fantastic. Then you get to the technical fundamentals of foundation, which is basically your on-site SEO to make sure you've got your desktop, tablet, mobile, all functional and for user experience, as well as making sure you have Google Search Console, analytics, and conversion set up. The next thing you'll focus on is social fundamentals, so making sure you have your social account set up and configured. If you're doing influencer marketing, identify those influencers, developing your audience, as well as some keyword and hashtag research from a social perspective. Then you'll see 35%, as well as an additional 20%, so a total of 55% are through smart content marketing and distribution. So between content marketing and distribution, that collectively is considered content marketing, because if you create content and you don't distribute it, then nobody's actually going to see what you've done. So content marketing is through many different forms. We'll discuss these later, and distribution isn't just through social media, it's through many other channels as well that we'll be discussing later as well. And the last item in the hierarchy of web presence optimization is to be able to monitor, report, and optimize. Because if you're not monitoring what you're doing, you can't make the right decisions to keep doing what you're already doing successfully, or to change what you're doing because it's not being effective. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but if you look at that hierarchy of web presence optimization, you'll note that there is not a specific SEO area within the hierarchy. And this is because all activities are fundamentally part of SEO. So everything that you do on-site and off-site impacts your search engine optimization, your visibility in the search engines. So keep that in mind. And we do have off-site and on-site SEO. On-site SEO are the things that you do on your website, on the domain that you own, to optimize it, such as some of your site architecture and coding that you do, setting up conversions and goals, the uptime of your site, as well as speed of your site, how you optimize your keyword and content, making sure you've got rich content, and making sure that you don't have duplicate content. And if you do, you handle it properly. Some off-site SEO items are mobile optimization. Link building is a very big one. And within link building, you have to ensure that you do deep linking. Keyword research is important. Social optimization, doing press releases, as well as distribution of blogs and articles, again, is all part of offsite SEO. So offsite SEO is anything that isn't the domain that you're working with, your brand domain. Why focus on content marketing? Well, the reasons why is because it can attract visitors to your website. It can create brand awareness. It engages your target audience. You can generate leads. You can nurture leads, establish your brand as the industry authority, increase sales, as well as be cost effective. Now there's two different, again, we talked about Joe Paluzzi, his quote from the Content Marketing Institute about content marketing. So we've got content marketing versus optimized content marketing. So with content marketing, the way Content Marketing Institute defines it, it accomplishes many marketing and business objectives such as knowledge and thought leadership, customer acquisition and retention, branding and positioning, as well as lead generation and sales. But from the G-Shift official definition, optimized content marketing is the art of understanding exactly what your prospects and customers need to know and deliberately producing optimized content based on keywords that are driving organic search traffic and conversions. Then delivering that optimized content in a relevant and compelling way to grow your business by socializing the content through your organization's social networks, as well as other offsite distribution channels. Therefore, optimized content marketing accomplishes 3 additional marketing and business objectives, which are to get found in Google for the keywords your prospects are using to try and find you, to generate social signals, as well as create trusted backlinks. So anything we talk about, we need to make sure we're considering optimized content marketing, not just content marketing. Again, here's a reiteration of what on-site versus off-site content is. So on-site is any content that is hosted on your website that addresses a certain need or desire of your intended audience, such as product pages, blog posts, cheat sheets, worksheets, templates, client case studies, white papers and reports, how-to guides, ebooks, slide decks, it goes on and on. So it's anything that has its own unique URL is on-site content. And also included is the categories you create to organize the content. Off-site content is any content, whether owned or earned, which exists anywhere other than your website. And what I mean by owned or earned is content that you have yourself and you've distributed, such as slide decks. You can post slide decks on things like SlideShare, for example. Press releases, you can send those out. Earned type of content is when other people are talking about you. So you haven't done it on purpose. It's about people sending signals back to you and discussing you and sending links back to you. So that's all earned content without you soliciting them or doing your own distribution. And off-site content, again, can include many different things such as client case studies, how-to guides, white papers, ebooks, infographics, webinars, videos, directory listings, articles, podcasts. Again, the list goes on and on. So anything that has a unique URL is content. And if it's off your domain, it's off-site content. But before we get into creating content or doing content marketing, we need to consider audience targeting. Within audience targeting, you need to define a buyer persona. So the original definition for a buyer persona, established in 2002 through an unknown source, stated buyer personas are research-based archetypal modeled representations of who buyers are, what they are trying to accomplish, and what goals drive their behavior, how they think, how they buy, and why they make buying decisions. As you can see here, this has nothing to do with profiling. It has everything to do with buying behavior. And what we're going to do in a buyer persona is understand what compels people to buy and what their behavior is. So why do you need a persona-based content marketing strategy? Well, digital marketing and right down to SEO is ultimately creating and promoting content with a specific buyer persona in mind. Content should speak to customer pain points and challenges throughout the buyer's journey. However, to create content that is truly targeted, you need to understand exactly who your buyers are and what their journey looks like. And oftentimes we go to do marketing, and everybody's guilty of this. You have a product or a service, well, this is good for anybody. Everybody can use my product or service. So, I need to market to everybody because I don't want to lose any market share. But if you market to everybody, then you really dissipate the efforts of your marketing, and nobody really gets that you feel their problem, because each different audience that you need to market to has a different pain point. As stated by Content Marketing Institute, companies go out of business if they ignore these 3 questions. First, who are we going to talk to? 2, why will they care? And 3, what are we going to say that's relevant to them? So all of those 3 questions need to be considered every time you do content marketing. Within a buyer persona, there's some key elements. The buyer persona is definitely research-based. It's a model representation, so the model represents patterns of behavior. Who buyers are, so is this somebody who has an influence on the buying decision or the decision maker themselves? What are they trying to accomplish? So understand the problem they're trying to solve. And what goals drive their behavior? Are they business goals or personal goals that drive their behavior? How they think, what are their attitudes, beliefs, perceptions, motivations, guiding principles? How do they buy? So you need to understand how content is used to affect their buying behavior. Why they make buying decisions. You need to get at the core of their why. Where they buy. Are they buying online or doing the research online and buying offline? Are they buying through social channels? Are they buying through your website? And when do they buy? Are they a first exposure purchaser, or do they need multiple exposures after becoming more educated and informed? A useful persona will guide you to use the right tone of voice within your content. And it will also identify commonalities across your target audience versus focusing on a unique attribute. So I did say, yes, we're going to be targeting a specific audience. And this audience with the picture that I've put here is the high heel audience, the black high heel audience. So we're really going to focus on black high heels and all the general aspects of the pain points of either the person or the black high heel itself. But if you narrow down too far and say, oh, amongst all these black high heels, I found one that has a really great pain point. It's the red high heel, and it just stands right out. But there's only one of them. You don't want to focus on a singular aspect of the audience. You really want to try and capture, when you've targeted that audience, you want to capture the general aspects of the pain points of that audience. There are a couple persona development tools that you can use. One is makemypersona.com, and I believe that one is through Hootsuite or HubSpot. Could be HubSpot, sorry, my mistake. And the other one that I use is extensio.com. So the following discussion is going to include a persona template developed using Extensio. Now I do have screenshots of this persona template, but we'll just go into Extensio right now and look at it right here. So I need to X that out. So the persona development template, when you get into Extensio, is really, really easy to play with and modify. You just click on it, and you start typing, insert persona name. So when you're creating a persona, you ultimately want to come up with a name for this persona because it just makes it more relatable when you're doing your marketing in the future. So let's say this person's going to be named Samantha, but maybe we won't name her right away. Samantha is going to come through all the things, the thoughts that we come up with through the traits and all the different aspects or elements of the persona. And then eventually, after you get a name, you're going to have an image of what this person looks like. So you'll find an image and drop it in here. And again, it just makes it more relatable. So when you're talking about the content that you're writing, you have a visualization and a name of this person that you're talking about or you're marketing to. So the first thing that's generally the easiest to nail down is the persona overview. So you can get into your analytics through your social analytics or your website analytics or even both. Any analytics that you have to identify what the age, gender, maybe type of work that these people do. And then once you get that, kind of dig into it and get in the mind of this person and, are they married? Do they have kids? How many kids do they have? Where are they located? Is there a specific, are they rural or are they in the city? So try and identify that a bit more. What type of character are they? Are they an A-type character or are they a laid-back, easygoing kind of person? So generalize what this person's going to be. And then what type of education do they have and where is their approximate salary? So again, you don't want to have a salary of a range of 50 to 100,000. You really want to narrow this down as much as possible using any data and research that you can do. There's even data within your, if you have a sales team. Sorry, I'm just opening the chat window, 1 second. Is there any way to integrate this kind of tool with Salesforce to analyze and build personas? Not to my knowledge. Good question, but I do not believe that there's a way to integrate this. Next, you're going to get down to personality. So this is a really cool area where it's just a sliding scale. So introvert, extrovert, I've just put some key areas of personality. You can easily change these out. Again, there might be different things that are more relevant to the industry that you're in or your niche. So just highlight, type over it, and you can change anything, or you can even delete these if you want. So again, this is just a thought starter, a template to get going with developing your persona. So we got introvert, extrovert. Are they analytical or creative? Where are they in the scale? Are they conservative or liberal? Are they passive or active? And you'll find also when you're creating multiple personas for your business, it's interesting how things bubble up, and you have very different, unique groups of people that you can market to. And then when you have those defined, how the content really speaks to that audience, and you'll see that there's a lot more engagement and interaction. The next area is level of expertise. So is it low or high in whatever you're working with? Are they a blue or white collar worker? Are they a labor executive? Are they less than 1 year at a job or greater than 20 years at a job? And again, sliding scale, so you can guesstimate, where this should be on the sliding scale. And again, it helps define. Now, I find the best approach to building out this persona is go down the left side first, and then go down the right side, and do these quick and easy sliding scale type things. And then once you have more of an idea, you've done some research, the middle area will be where you put more thoughts into it and more sentences. Now, role in the decision cycle, this is an important one, especially for your salespeople, because you need to know, is this person that you're targeting the decision maker? Are they going to ultimately be the one that signs on the dotted line that buys your product or service? Or are they an influencer to the decision maker? Because again, the message that you send to a decision maker could be completely different than the message that you send to the influencer of the decision maker. So it's good to know what their role is. Motivation. Are they motivated through incentive, such as, if you have a B2C type thing as a gift card, or if you're looking for customer surveys to get feedback on things, or are they motivated by gift cards to Tim Hortons, for example? So if this person is motivated by incentive, depending on what you need them to do, or maybe they need a promotion. Again, there's different things. If they're motivated by that, then that could be attractive to them. Or are they motivated by fear? So fear of, if I don't get this, I'm not going to look good in front of my boss. Or if I don't get this, the productivity of my business is going to decrease even further. So again, fear. Are they motivated by achievement, growth, power, social? Social is, if I get this, then everybody's going to think I'm cool and they're going to want it too. So I'm now the cool person who's got this new neat gadget kind of thing. So again, lots of different things to think about on motivation and who your target audience is. And then you get to effective influences. Are traditional ads more influential for these people, or is it online and social media? Is it referral, or is it influencer and PR that's more effective to this audience that you're defining? Now, keyword and phrases, this is an area that's often missed within persona development. And remember, we're going back to optimized content marketing. Well, because of optimized content marketing, we want to have some of the keywords and phrases that really resonate with this audience, this person that you're targeting. So most of the time when you're making a persona, you stop at knowing a bit of their character, but you don't understand what they're searching for and what their pain points are through keywords. So this is a good area, through the keyword research that you've already done, to map those keywords, some of the keyword phrases that you have, to this individual that you're defining. Once you have that done, we get into the middle of the persona development. Now, bio, a day in the life of, I would leave that to very last because it's a little more complicated. So we get into frustrations and perceived barriers. With frustrations and perceived barriers, this is identifying, within the first three, I've got bullet points of thought starters, and then we've got, what kind of sentences would look like. So this is going to identify the frustrations this user would like to avoid, the obstacle that prevents this user from achieving their goals, or the problems with solutions already available, and the product or service that currently does not exist. So they would say something like, I am concerned about, I don't have, I worry about, I wish. Then you're going to identify their goals and motivators. The goals this user hopes to achieve, a task that needs to be completed, a life goal to be reached, or an experience to be felt. So those sentences might start with, I want to, I need to, I must, I'm concerned about. And success statements is really, what does success look like for them? I will, so they'll say things like, I will have, my target is. Once you've got all that completed, then we go into the bio. A bio is basically just a paragraph that's a day in the life of this person. It should be a short paragraph that describes the users from a personal perspective. It should include details about where they live, what car they drive, what they like to eat, do they play sports, are they part of associations. It might be helpful to incorporate information listed across the template and add pertinent details that may have been left out. Highlight factors of the user's personal and professional life that make this user an ideal customer for your product. And a tip for this one is have the persona talk to the reader in first person. So this is going to ultimately be very helpful for your content development team as well as your sales team, because when your sales team sees this buyer persona, it's really going to help them relate more to the people in the conversations, or even targeting the people to prospect for sales. So this is definitely a fundamental thing that every company should have, and understand who your ideal buyer is. Well, it's not even ideal buyer. Understand who your, you look through your sales and you understand who are the best buyers that you have. In some businesses, you have buyers that, yes, they buy, but they're high maintenance type of clients, and maybe they're not your ideal client. But you have other ones that are a quick sale. And with that quick sale, they know what they want. You've solved their problem. They get it. You don't have to continue educating them on your product, and they keep coming back for more. So this might be your ideal client or audience. So that's a good one to develop persona around, because you want to get more of those. You really want to understand who that person is that you need to target to get more of them. Whoops. So these are just placeholders within the presentation, so you know what we're talking about. Next, we're going to talk about content strategy. So it's easy enough to do a bunch of activities, write a few blog posts, send out some social updates, and maybe a video, and call it content marketing. However, to get the most out of your content marketing program, you need to build your brand by engaging your prospects and customers and driving sales. And to do this, you need a strategy. So you want to map content to the buyer's journey. So each piece of content you create needs to be mapped to the buyer pain points and back to a stage in the buyer's journey. So it's the planning, development, management, and deployment of content across online and offline marketing channels that makes your content marketing successful. Some considerations for your strategy plan are: the strategy will consist of buyer considerations as well as company strategy and KPIs. You want to incorporate the competitive insights into your strategy development and ensure it's actionable and trackable, as well as documented, because when you document it, you have a roadmap or a blueprint to really work against. And not all buyers are ready to convert at the first point of contact, which is why typically there are 3 primary stages each buyer goes through before making a purchasing decision. The traditional buyer journey that we're all aware of, or most of us are aware of, are awareness, consideration, and decision phases. Awareness is where buyers are unaware of their problems or their solutions. Consideration stage is where a buyer understands their problems better, but need more information before choosing a solution. And the decision stage is where buyers have found a handful of solutions but need validation before making a decision. Now, I've broken this out a little bit more. In the awareness stage, there are 2 additional considerations. One is inquire. So they will ask questions such as, what am I interested in? And then learn, what do I need to know? So those are 2 elements within the awareness stage that you can target separately. And the consideration stage is also broken down into two more considerations. One is evaluate. Why do I need this? And the other one is justify. What are the pros and cons if I do or do not get it or take action? And then within the decision point or stage, this is the point in the buying cycle where they're ready to purchase. So final convincing may be required to make the buyer feel they're making the right choice at this stage. Now we have the awareness, consideration, and decision stage. That's ideal, but now the buyer journey in the real world is a little bit different. Greater than 70% of a customer's journey is conducted off your website. So if it's conducted off your website, how are you going to control that buyer journey and bring them through all the stages? And here's another example, because in the digital space, they don't follow the traditional journey. And we call this a G-shift, we call it the dark funnel. And the reason why we call it the dark funnel is traditionally you just don't have any idea what's going on outside your website. There's no way to really track it. You can get bits and pieces of analytics here and there, but how do you bring it all together and understand how your content off your site is performing, and is it bringing people into your funnel the way you want them to? Also in the real world, most companies don't have thousands up to millions to spend on content. So on a budget, your main priority is maximizing ROI. And the best way to maximize ROI is to own the decision stage. This is by letting others educate while you put the majority of your efforts into showing up for buyer keywords. So why are buyer personas important if you're focusing on owning the decision stage? Well, this is a quote from Forbes by a person called John Hall of Influence and Company. And he stated, creating content that doesn't directly speak to your audience is like accidentally gifting your mother-in-law a men's razor and some aftershave. So again, it's a little bit silly sounding, but if you think of that and put it in perspective, it's so important to focus on and directly targeting the audience that you want is who your ideal buyer is. We've got two key concepts for developing content for ROI. Awareness stage content only applies to a handful of businesses. This content is beneficial if the market is new. So I'm not exactly sure with everybody that's in the audience right now, if you have a product or service that, you probably have a better version than your competitors, but it's something that there is competition, people are aware of it. It's not new terminology or anything like that. So, that's where you don't want to target the awareness stage so much. But if this is a new to market concept, then you're going to have to do a lot of work on the awareness stage, because you need to educate and get people to understand what exactly it is that you're doing. Decision stage content will target users who know they have a need. You just need to help them make better choices, which is obviously the choice over your competitor. So I'm not telling you to ignore the awareness or consideration stages of content. I'm just wanting to ensure you maximize your efforts by putting heavier weight and resources on the decision stage content, especially if you have limited resources for time as well as budget, and you don't have a new to market product or service. So getting into the content strategy, you want to develop your content planning matrix. To do that, you want to identify and create each persona you're targeting. So complete the persona worksheet template and fill in each of the considerations for each stage of the buying or decision-making cycle. And the purpose of this activity is to get to know your persona better and understand what appeals to them and the problems they're trying to solve. So we've been into the persona already, to identify the persona. Now we're going to get into the persona worksheet. So I'm just going to pop that up right now. So here you put your persona name. So let's say we've named the persona Samantha. We've got all the different stages of the buyer journey. We've got inquire, learn, educate, justify, and decision. Now down the left-hand side, we've got all these different elements we're going to start thinking about. And with each element, we're going to say, okay, for define motivation. Well, there could be a different motivation for this persona at each of the different stages of the buying cycle. So this is where you're going to have to do a bit of thinking and brainstorming to figure out what is the motivation for Samantha at the inquiry. So you're going to ask the question, or she's going to ask the question, what am I interested in? Okay. Learn. The question here would be, what do I need to know? Evaluate. Well, why do I need this? Justify. What are the pros and cons if I do or don't get it? And decision. Am I ready to buy? And why am I going to buy this? So you want to define the motivation. You want to identify questions they are asking. So again, at each different phase of the buyer journey, there's going to be different questions that they're asking about that are related to your product or service. Key messages and value proposition. So for each of the stages of the buyer journey for your specific product or service that you're targeting for this persona, what are the key messages and value proposition you have? Some of it might be the same, some of it might be different. Again, it depends on the stage of the buyer journey, what you really want to have portrayed to this buyer persona. Offers they respond to. So at each of the different stages, maybe when you get to the decision stage, if it's again a B2C customer, for example, they may respond better to a coupon or a discount at this point in time versus if you offer a coupon or discount when they're just at the initial awareness stage. Because if they're just at inquire or learn, why would they even buy your stuff or your product if they don't know anything about it and they're not ready? So by offering them a coupon or a discount right here, it's probably not going to convert as well as offering it once they've got to this point in time. So here you might have to have a different offer, something that's a little more educational or, again, related to maybe the questions they're asking and what value you're going to offer them here. And channels they prefer. So in each different stage of the cycle, they might be, here might be social, here might be video, and by the end of it, it could be your website that they're going to do the final conversion on. And content format preferred. Again, for each different stage of the buyer journey, you can have different types of content formats that resonate better. So you might want to throw an infographic at the decision stage. That could be a quick video or even just a call to action button. Again, there's so many different things that you can do. The infographic might be more value added at the awareness stage. So again, look at the different type of stages and what content would resonate most with them, again, based on all these different elements that we've just discussed here. So that's your persona worksheet template. So again, it helps build up that persona and you get a little more in-depth information and awareness of this person that you're going to be targeting. And as a placeholder, just to hold that. And once you finish that, you want to develop your content planning matrix. Now, to develop your content planning matrix, you want to list the brand stories you want to tell. Your brand stories will include things like the reason your company came to be. What problem are you solving? What is your USP or UVP, your unique selling proposition or your unique value proposition? What makes you different from your competitors? Why do your customers choose you? So do some brainstorming on those elements and then come up with your brand stories. You might have a few different brand stories. It's not wrong to have multiple brand stories, but you need to identify what you want to tell. And then once you've identified these, you're going to fill in the content planning matrix. So for each persona and each brand story, you're going to list the types of content that will appeal to each. So here's a tip, use your competitors, trade publications, forums, etc. to help come up with content topics. And this is the content planning matrix that I'm talking about right now. So in here, you're going to have persona 1, 2, 3, maybe you've done 3, maybe you've done 2, maybe you've done 4, up to you. But you're going to have your persona, put the name of your persona, and again, this is a bird's eye view of the persona, a brief description, so this is a standalone document. And then here's your brand story 1, brand story 2, brand story 3, for example, and then insert 1 to 2 sentence story here. So again, what you want to portray. And now for each of these personas, for this persona and this brand story, what type of content is going to resonate the best? So what words in the content or theme of content or even style of content is going to resonate best with this persona to this brand story. So then you start filling out the matrix. So this persona and brand story 2. What's their goal of the content and what type of content should be relatable to this persona and this brand story. But always have a goal, what you're going to do. So the goal of the content is my goal to create brand awareness? Is my goal to convert? Is my goal to add value, so be the authority in something? So again, you have to understand the goal of your content, or else you're just spinning your wheels and making content for content purpose and not really being able to map it back to a specific reason. And there's your placeholder for the content matrix. Now, top level considerations for strategy mapping are to identify your objectives, measure or have metrics and KPIs, do a content inventory, create shareable content, have an outreach strategy, have a social media strategy, and measure and optimize. So everything that I've listed here for your strategy mapping, I haven't covered yet through content marketing. We're just kind of getting the whole concept of when we do content marketing, what do we target? Once we get to campaign planning, there's going to be a lot more of this that we cover through those different sessions, as well as outreach strategy through influencer marketing and social media strategy. Again, there's a lot of different areas as we progress through G-Shift University where we're going to address all these different things. Now, the key points within the session are to understand that content is critical to on and off-site SEO, and it's the new age of SEO. Your content should be targeted at solving problems of your target audience. You should have different types of content for each stage of the buying cycle, but weighted for maximum ROI. And great content is a result of a great strategy. Therefore, planning is critical. Now, I know we've completed this session a little bit early. The second session is it's a lot longer. It's probably about 30 slides longer, so there's a lot of content to cover. But I didn't incorporate all of it into session 1 just because you have a lot of groundwork to do between session 1 and session 2 as far as work on your persona development. So again, I'll get this off to you as fast as possible. And then you can start working away at your persona. So then when we start into session 2 next week, you'll have a good base and things will make a lot more sense. So the objectives in the session 2 that we'll cover next week are to talk about content development strategy for efficiency, engagement, and backlinks, content types, how to rethink and repurpose your content, effective content distribution and outcomes, building social authority, and also discussing hidden traffic sources. So I'm open up for questions if you have any right now. Any questions? Okay, so before you go, right after this session, I'm going to send the slides and the worksheets. I have to download, when the recording is rendered, I'll be downloading that and putting it into the YouTube playlist. So check back later for the recording in the playlist if you need it. But I just want to make sure I get all the worksheets to you right away instead of waiting for all the video rendering to happen. I'm not seeing any questions. I'll give it another minute if anybody's typing. Thanks, Andrea. Can I allow the YouTube playlist to be downloadable so we can view offline? Let me see what I can do about that. I'll let you know, okay? Anybody else? Are we good? Okay, well, that's everything. I'm going to stop the recording and everybody have a great day. And again, be prepared for a very full session next week.